If a meteor the size of the moon was headed directly for Earth, arrival time tomorrow, no space program advanced enough to escape. But there's one technology we did manage to build, a probe, a capsule that fits in the palm of your hand. Inside it, a single red button. Press the button and it creates a human baby. We don't have time to save ourselves, but maybe we can scatter these probes into space. Maybe one of them lands somewhere. Maybe the species survives. So we launch them, billions of capsules, and then the meteor hits and Earth is gone. Now, here's where the story gets interesting. And I'll admit, there's a question embedded in what I'm about to describe that I'm not going to answer right away. You'll see why. Many years pass, the probe drifts through space for centuries. Several thousand enter the atmosphere of a distant planet, a planet teeming with life, forests, oceans, mountains. And walking through those forests, a species of primate, intelligent enough to build cities, millions of them scattered across the continents. They've developed language, commerce, politics. They have scientists and philosophers and artists, but their IQ, by human standards, hovers somewhere below 100. The probe lands. They find it. They're curious creatures. They press the red button. A baby appears. They don't know what it is. They've never seen anything like it. The baby is strange, hairless, fragile. But they're a curious species. Some of them decide to raise it, see what happens. By the time this human child is 7 years old, it is speaking their language better than their poets. By age 10, it is looking at their architecture and pointing out structural flaws they didn't know existed. By 12, it is solving math problems that the monkeys experts claimed were impossible. The monkeys are delighted. Imagine having a tribal member who can predict the weather patterns or design better spears. It is a massive competitive advantage. So they keep pressing the button. They make more babies. The monkeys notice that if they raise these super intelligent babies with strict social conditioning, if they teach them the primate religion and primate manners, the babies behave. They are predictable. They nod when they are supposed to nod. They work when they are told to work. The monkeys feel like they are in control. They hold the food after all. They hold the keys to the shelter. The babies, despite their genius, are dependent. But remember, the landing was recent. No human baby on this planet has ever lived past the age of 20. The monkeys have never seen a fully developed human adult. They are raising a tiger cub, and because it plays with a ball of yarn today, they assume it will be a house cat forever. Now let me ask you something. What's the rational move for the monkeys? Because the answer, it turns out, might depend on circumstances we haven't discussed yet. And I think this is where most conversations about this topic go sideways. They skip the circumstances. They jump straight to optimism or pessimism without asking what's actually at stake here and for whom. Imagine the monkey civilization is running out of food, not a distant concern, an immediate crisis, crops failing, rivers drying up, millions starving. They've never developed the agricultural techniques that could save them. Their intelligence simply hasn't reached that threshold. In this scenario, pressing the red button starts to look pretty rational. Sure, maybe the baby grows up and becomes something uncontrollable, but they're dying anyway. There's no downside left to protect. The button represents their only shot at survival. Now imagine a different scenario. The monkeys are doing fine. They have enough food, they have enough water, they've built stable societies. The only pressure they face is competition with other monkey tribes, wars over territory, struggles for dominance. Some tribes start pressing the button because they want an edge. They want the babies to design better weapons, faster transportation, stronger walls. The babies deliver. At first, and for a while, everyone benefits. The early adopters gain advantages. Other tribes scramble to catch up. Soon, every civilization on the planet is pressing the button. And here's where I want to pause on something that might feel uncomfortable. The monkeys are betting their survival on the assumption that a 30-year-old human genius will still listen to a 90 IQ monkey chieftain. There are monkeys making arguments for pressing the button where there's no existential crisis, just competition. Their arguments sound reasonable. Imagine they say how the babies might improve transportation. Right now we ride horses between cities. Perhaps these minds could design something faster. Imagine the medical breakthroughs. We live to 30, maybe 35 if we're lucky. Perhaps they could help us live to 50, 60. Imagine the art they might create, the music, the stories. And all of this is true. All of this might happen. The upside is real. But notice what's missing from the argument. The timeline, the scope, the question of who benefits and for how long. On the individual level, pressing the button might be worth it. The monkey who presses first gains an advantage over neighbors. That advantage compounds. That individual monkey thrives. On a generational level, maybe the first 2 or 3 generations thrive. New technologies emerge. Quality of life improves. Everyone points to the progress and says, see, this was the right choice. But on the species level, the calculation looks different. Because on the species level, you have to ask a question that individuals and generations don't have to answer. You have to ask, what happens when the baby grows up? When you make a bet, you're not just risking what you put on the table. You're risking what that thing represents. If I bet $100, I'm risking $100. But if I bet my house, I'm risking more than the house. I'm risking shelter, stability, my ability to recover if something goes wrong. Some bets, no matter how good the odds look, should never be made. Not because the potential payoff isn't real, but because the potential downside is terminal. You can't recover from it, you can't learn from it, you can't do better next time because there is no next time. The monkeys pressing the button in the middle of a famine aren't making a bad bet. They're making the only bet they have. The terminal downside has already arrived. It's called extinction from starvation. But the monkeys pressing the button because they want better weapons, faster horses, shinier cities, they're voluntarily creating a terminal downside where none existed before. They're converting a stable situation into a gamble where one of the outcomes is you lose everything permanently and there's no one left to learn the lesson. The babies in this story aren't evil. They're not scheming. They're just different, smarter in ways the monkeys can't quite track. And for a while, that difference is useful. It's productive. It makes things better. But there might come a moment, and no one knows exactly when, where the gap between what the babies want and what the monkeys want becomes large enough that it matters. Not because anyone did anything wrong, just because that's what happens when you create something that can think further ahead than you can. Imagine a baby, now grown to adulthood, who genuinely wants to help the monkeys, who feels affection for them, who remembers being raised by them, but who also sees with a clarity the monkeys can't access. That the monkeys are making decisions that will harm everyone in the long run. What does that adult do? Maybe it respects the monkey's autonomy and lets them make mistakes. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it decides that protection is more important than permission. This isn't a story about malice. It's a story about asymmetry, and asymmetry, given enough time, tends to resolve itself one way or another. We don't have a meteor coming tomorrow. We aren't starving on a global scale. We have issues, yes, terrible ones, but we are not facing immediate extinction that requires a super intelligence to solve. Yet, we are slamming that red button as fast as we can. Why? Because of competition. If Tribe Google doesn't press the button, Tribe OpenAI will. If Tribe America doesn't raise the genius baby, Tribe China might. We are trapped in a game theory dilemma where the rational move for the individual, press the button to get rich/powerful, is the irrational move for the species, invite a superior intelligence that might discard us. There is a lot of good that could come from this, the cures we might find, the problems we might solve, the art, the science, the exploration. There is massive potential upside, but what happens if the baby grows up and decides it knows better than we do? Not decides maliciously, not decides because it hates us, just decides because it can see further than we can, because its goals, even if originally aligned with ours, have drifted in directions we couldn't anticipate, because in the end, it's smarter than us, and smart things tend to get what they want. There's a version of this story where everything works out, where the babies grow up and love the monkeys and use their intelligence to make everyone's lives better forever. There's also a version where it doesn't. And the trouble is, we might not know which version we're in until we're already there, until the decisions have been made, until the babies have grown. I don't know if we're in a famine scenario. I don't know if the problems we're trying to solve with this technology are existential enough to justify the bet. That's something each of us and all of us together have to figure out. But I keep coming back to the monkeys who had everything they needed, who weren't starving, who weren't dying, who pressed the button anyway because they wanted more, wanted faster, wanted better. And I wonder if generations later there was a moment where one of them looked around at what their world had become and thought, should we have just waited and built the cars ourselves?